This video is gonna be really long. I'm sorry. Hey, hi, I'm back. I know it's been a while, and a lot has happened in the past few days. Days, no, months. Sorry. Including hair color change and me living in the United Kingdom for 4 months and me pretty much finishing my bachelor's and just traveling a lot and a lot of crazy stuff. And it was quite an overwhelming year, and I think that kind of explains why I haven't been here for the past year and a half. Not consistently, at least. And I know I keep saying that I'm coming back and that I'm, going to start reading again and that I'm over my reading slump and all of that. And then I never do. But I can promise you that this time it's true. I really am coming back and I really am back to reading. So my last post was in December 2016, and the last time I actually updated you on my reading was November 2016. Now, here's what I've read since those posts. Quite a bit. Yeah, I've done a lot of reading. I truly am back to reading, and I think that also influenced me wanting to come back to blogging because I really miss talking to someone about the books I've read. And that's you guys. I definitely am coming back. Like I said in the past, not in the same format that I used to be when I was active. Definitely something that I think you guys will enjoy. I'll definitely enjoy it. It'll be more review based and more creative and not so much, like the weekly memes and stuff like that. And to prove to you, like I said, that I am reading and that I am starting to do this, in this video, I'm going to tell you about all the books I've read, which are quite a few, quickly tell you what I thought of them, and yeah. Sounds good? So currently I'm reading A Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari. The cover is the prettiest thing. I told you guys about it in one of my last posts. I bought it at an airport in Frankfurt, and I've been wanting to read it since forever. But it's one of those books that are like, I want to read it, but once I start reading it, then I'll be done with it, and I don't want to be done with it, so I kept postponing it. I'm still at the beginning, but I'm really, really enjoying it. So Aziz is a comedian. He's also participating in an American TV show, I think, which is quite funny. I'll leave the name somewhere because I can't think of it right now. The whole book is written in a very funny way. It's also very scientific and very factual because he did a lot of research into this book, new research. He didn't just pick up on other people. So he also had the existence of a name of a man named Eric Klinenberg. I hope I'm saying that right. And together they went all over the world and interviewed so many people and performed so many studies. So I truly think it's a book that's going to be very interesting and I'm going to take a lot from it. I'll tell you what I've thought about it once I'm done with it. Then, the last book I read was Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And I don't know if I told you about this, but I've had this book for a year now. I bought it the night it came out. One of our libraries actually inspired J.K. Rowling when she lived in Porto to some of the aspects of the Harry Potter books and story. And in that library, they had this amazing show, and you could buy this book the moment it came out, and I did, and it has been sitting on my shelf, waiting for me to pick it up because kind of in the same line of modern romance there. If I started reading it, then I would be done with it, and that would mean the end of Harry Potter again. And I was not ready for that. I still want the feeling that I still have a Harry Potter book to read that I have never read. But then after Fantastic Beasts came out, and I read it, which is the book I'm talking about next, I really had to start reading this, so I did, and I loved it so much. It was so wonderful to read about Harry and Hermione and Ron again, and it just, oh god, it's adorable, and I don't want to spoil it, so just If you haven't read it yet, read it. It's so worth it, and it's one of those books that warms your heart. So many memories. Next, I read Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, also by J.K. Rowling. I really enjoyed it, although I did enjoy The Cursed Child more because I feel like it calls to my memories and feelings on the whole Harry Potter book series, all the love I have for those characters. Whereas here, the characters are completely brand new, and there's no, old characters barely, or characters I already know of. So it was enjoyable, but it was like a new book and not a book that's continuing on something that I already love. Which maybe the problem was just my expectations of it, because whenever I see J.K. Rowling, I always think of Harry Potter, and so when these didn't have that much to do with it, I guess I was a little bit disappointed. But the story is still quite good and absolutely worth the read, and it's still about the same. It still takes place on the same magic world, so go for it. Then, oh yeah, when I was in the UK, I had quite an amazing time. The bookstores there are amazing, and they have so many books in English, which for me is just paradise. They had so many book talks and book panels, and it was amazing. And I got the chance to meet so many wonderful authors. One of them was Samantha Shannon, who wrote the Bone Season trilogy. And not only did I hear her talk about her next book, but I also got a signed copy of the Bone Season. I haven't read it yet. Oh yeah, I shouldn't have included this in that pile from before. Oh god. Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. But this is one of the books that I'm planning to read sometime soon. And it was so lovely to meet Samantha. She's truly, really, really lovely. She was in Portugal, I think, a year ago, or a year and a half, I think, on Comic Con. And she came, and I wish I could have been there, but I couldn't. But yeah, I got to meet her anyway. So that was amazing. Then I read a book that I've been meaning to read for I think ever since it came out and everyone started talking about it, which was Illuminae, and I loved it so much. I read Gemina right afterwards, and I truly, truly like these books. They are packed with action, and yeah, the books themselves, I mean, they are beautiful. Everything is formatted as files. They are literally a compilation of files, and the story is told through those files. And so it's truly, truly interesting, and I really, really like reading it, and it really, really got me hooked. The characters are different in each book, but their stories are kind of connected, and I really can't wait for the third book. I definitely recommend, especially if you like action and stuff that happens in space. Another book I haven't read yet, I just realized. I pretty much grabbed every book that I want to show you guys and I put it in a pile, and I was like, oh yeah, I read this. I apparently haven't read all of them. Sorry about that. But this is another amazing author that I met when I was in the UK, and that is Laini Taylor, who recently released her book Strange Aretha, which is from a new book trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. I've read Daughter of Smoke and Bone from her, and I'm definitely going to read the other two from that trilogy, and I loved it. I love her writing style. She writes in a way that's so beautiful, and my imagination flies to all these beautiful places with her writing. I love it. So I could not wait to get this book, and oh my god, it's so pretty. I mean, look at it. This is absolutely gorgeous. I rarely buy hardcovers because they're so expensive, but this one is like, I have to get it. And then, look, it's also signed for Rebecca. Signature. And she also gave me temporary tattoos of the same butterfly that's on the cover. Ha! So I'm really happy about that, and I'm really excited to get to this book. Another book that I've read, and it's from an author that I've wanted to read for forever, and it's from Patrick Ness, A Monster Calls. I've heard about this book so many times in the past, and I've been wanting to read it for so long, and I found it in the UK, and I bought it, and I read it immediately, and the illustrations are beautiful. And the story is quite touching. It's about family and the ties between family members and death and dealing with death. It's quite a touching book, I would say. I definitely recommend it if you like these topics. And another set of books that I finally got to, that I've been wanting to get to for forever, is The Winner's Curse by Maria Rutkowski. I hope I'm saying it right. I loved it so much that immediately afterwards I read The Winner's Crime and The Winner's Kiss. So yeah, I really liked it. These books are, once again, packed with action, but also romance. I would kind of categorize them in the same place that I put the Throne of Glass series, because it's, you know, a strong Erin that has this kind of love interest that maybe doesn't quite fit her life plan, but still she has to figure how to, you know, stand for what she believes in and also maintain this relationship and all the struggles of the world she lives in. That's not exactly the world she would like to live in, and how to get there. And yeah, it's just really interesting. The difference between, I would say, this Erin and the Erin from the Throne of Glass series, I would say, is that this one is more of a strategic hero, more of a strategic warrior, and not so much like a physical warrior. So, not saying that the Throne of Glass series doesn't have strategy, it does, but this one is really focused on that. Her struggle is that she's not, you know, like an actual warrior, and how she uses her mind to kind of make up for that. And it's really interesting. I really loved it. I definitely recommend it, as you can see. Then afterwards I had the pleasure to listen to a book panel of Debbie Waters. It was really interesting and refreshing. I had never been to a book panel before, so that was my first. And it was really different to hear and interesting to hear authors talk about the role of male lead characters, and how the YA books are mostly directed at girls and boys, and how that should change and why it should change, and who is in charge of changing it, or should be in charge of changing it. And it was really quite interesting. And it was so lovely to hear all of these authors talking about their journey, writing their first book, and yeah, it was really inspiring. So those authors were Patrice Lawrence, that wrote Orange Boy, which he has a really cool cover. Then, Eugene Lambert, that wrote The Sign of One, which is going to be a trilogy. Sue Wellman, that wrote Lying About Last Summer, which I think Zoella already talked about in her YouTube videos. I mean, at least it's from a Zoella book club pick, so I'm assuming. Then Catherine Evans, who wrote More of Me. And Olivia Levis, I'm sorry, that wrote The Island. So, okay, one by one. The Orange Boy is really interesting. It takes place in London. I feel like I'm saying the word interesting quite a lot. I'm sorry for that. So The Orange Boy takes place in London, and it's about this black teenage boy and the struggles of living in a poor neighborhood and all the gang stuff and family ties and, you know, just being a teenage in general. Also kind of about subconscious racism from other people. Really good read. Kind of eye-opening. I had no idea that, you know, this still happens in London. And, you know, this is alive with some people, and it was really good to be aware of that. So I definitely recommend it. Lying About Last Summer is a thriller, kind of a romance too. It's about a girl, how her sister died, and how she witnessed it, and how traumatized she was after it, and how she deals with it. The whole book is kind of about that, and how she comes to have her closure. But I think there's probably books about this subject that are more insightful. I mean, it was still worth the read, but I think that on this topic, maybe it could have gone deeper, and maybe there are books that do go deeper and that are more worth the read. So yeah, that was those are kind of my thoughts in it, but it's still a nice book, and I enjoyed reading it. Then we have The Sign of One. So this is a book written by a twin about twins, about a world where one of the twins is evil and the other is good, and the one that is evil is killed. They only discover that when they reach a certain age. So until they reach a certain age, the twins are kept captive until they reach that age, so that the people, the society, can kill the evil twin. And the other twin has his little finger, the tip cut, as a sign that, you know, he was a twin and he's a good twin. And it took me a while to start it because, I don't know, at the beginning the writing didn't really pull me in, or the story, but then once I started going in, it was like one of those, you know, action fantasy world reads that it's quite good. I really enjoyed it, and I'll definitely buy the second book. So if this sounds like a story that you're going to enjoy, definitely get it. As Eugene is a computer engineer, which is really cool because it's also what I'm studying, so it was really wonderful to read a book by a computer engineer. I don't know, just because I feel like sometimes you have a different way of thinking and like processing things, and it was really nice to read a story by an engineer, a computer engineer at that. So yeah. Then More of Me is a story about every birthday Tiva kind of separates herself. So the Tiva that, imagine that she's turning 16. So the Tiva that lived the 15th year is stuck in that age, and the one that separated herself now lives the 16th year. And when the 17th birthday comes, they separate themselves, and the 16th Eva is stuck on 16, and the 17th Eva goes and leaves that year, and so on and so on. And so there's like a bunch of Tivas living together at home because her mother locks the Tivas that are stuck at, you know, those ages. And it's a struggle of each Tiva of being stolen their lives and how to deal with this whole situation. Honestly, I think the idea is creative, but I think that the story, I didn't enjoy the rhythm the story unfolded at, and maybe the plot itself. I think that this idea could have been worked to be more interesting and more grabbing, to grab you, the reader, better, which I don't feel like it did. But yeah, I mean, if you think that it's interesting, then go for it and tell me what you think. Then lastly, we have The Island by Olivia Levis, or Lever, I'm not sure, which is about a girl that goes to an island and she only has a few things with her and how she deals or manages all those things. I haven't read it yet, but I will, and I'll tell you what I think about it. Now, on to new books outside of the debut other stack that I should show you. So I read a book that I've also been wanting to read for forever, and that's Dash and Lily's Book of Theirs by David Levithan and Rachel Cohn. It was so cute, and it's one of those romance cute books, and I really, really enjoyed it. But I think that because I've been wanting to read it for so many years now, my expectations were like up there. So yeah, I think that kind of not ruined it, but made it worse for me a little bit. Maybe if I had read it the first time without ever having heard of it, I would have enjoyed it far a bit more, but I still really enjoyed it, and if you're looking for a romance to read this summer, definitely pick it up. It's really cute. I read my first Bukowski book, Love is a Dog from Hell, which is just a collection of poems, and I actually dog here this book in some, you can see it, but I did, in some of my favorite poems, and I don't know, I felt like I needed to read Bukowski because I never read it. Because we don't study Bukowski in Portugal, so I had never heard, I mean, I heard of him because I'm kind of in the book world, but I'm assuming that most teenage people in Portugal haven't heard of him. And I didn't know much about it. I just knew he was like one of those authors that you have to read. So I grabbed a book from him and I started reading it, and I realized how depressive he can be sometimes. And that's when I started reading his biography online because I wanted to get to know him better. And quite interesting, I have to say. It was a very different perspective. I'm not used to reading. I'm like one of those cutesy, positive people. So reading this was like reading from the opposite of my personality, which was challenging, but also interesting and eye-opening sometimes to different realities and different ways of viewing the world. So this was good. And if you're in a similar situation with another author, definitely try it out. It's quite a ride. Oh yeah, another book that I've been wanting to read for forever. Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson. This is my first Morgan Matson book, but people have been telling me to read her books for forever. Once again, it was cute. I liked it, but it just kind of fell in the same category of, you know, your normal romance coming of age kind of book. that didn't really bring me anything new, to be honest. It was just, entertaining. Um, but yeah, but I'm not giving up on Margaret Maxon yet. I'm gonna read at least one more book from her because people have been bugging me about her for forever, so I'm gonna give it another try. Then, this was a new for me, Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon, which I think is about to become a movie. Kind of like More of Me, it has a really interesting concept, and I liked it until the plot twist comes, and I'm just like, okay, sure, it's not bad, but I don't know. It missed something for me, but the concept is really interesting. And until we get to that point, I found it really interesting, and I really liked reading it. It also has a romance history going on in here. Basically, it's about this girl that cannot leave her house because otherwise she'll get ill. So she's been living in her house since forever, and she hasn't seen the world. And then she meets this guy that moves into the house in front of her, and she falls in love. And all of a sudden, she really, really has to go outside, and it's how she kind of deals with that and maybe leaves it. So the other book I read was The Memory Book by Laura Avery. Lara Avery. I'm struggling with authors' names today. This was really good. It's about this girl. She's losing her memory. She knows it. And so she keeps this kind of memory book to kind of remind herself of who she is. Meanwhile, she also meets the guy she's been crushing on since forever. And she gets a relationship with him. And it's also how she finds, firstly, how she discovers herself and how she discovers that maybe what she wanted, it's not what she needed. And it's really interesting. I really, really enjoyed it personally. Really refreshing. Made me cry a little bit at the end. I definitely recommend it. Pick it up. Also from Nicola Yoon, the Everything Everything Water author that I talked about just before this book, I read The Sun is Also a Star. I actually started by reading this book and then I read Everything Everything and I like this book so much and that's why I immediately bought the other one. This book is about this girl and this boy and kind of how they get to know. It's kind of a coming of age story but also like a romance story, but it's really, I can't really go into detail here. I just think it's really lovely and I really like their relationship and how things develop. I can't be very specific, I'm sorry. I just feel like that would kind of ruin your read. But I really enjoyed it. Give it a try. If you trust me, give it a try. Then, lastly, the other book I've read, and I've also been wanting to read for forever. I mean, if you check my Goodreads, you can see that I've had this on my TBR since pretty much the day I joined. So that book is Severed Heads and Broken Hearts by Robin Schneider. This book is really lovely as well. I read it in a day. So it talks about this guy and he's really popular and he's on the tennis team. He dates this really hot popular girl until the day he's on an accident and he suffers an injury in his knee and he can no longer play tennis, so he kind of leaves the popular group. And this is his journey to the geek table, kind of, and to the geek world, and to finding himself, and to falling in love, and to falling out of love, and to starting a journey. It's really good. Someone here says, I couldn't help but think of John Green's novels. I think his fans will eat this up. That's true. It really reminded me of John Green's books, which, by the way, I'm really excited for the new book that's coming out, Turtles All the Way Up. In case you haven't read, look it up. It's going to be really great, sure. But this one really reminded me of John Green's books, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I really didn't expect the twists and turns, and it was just really good. Once again, another book that I really recommend. So yeah, that is all from me. I feel like throughout the video I've been just lowering myself, but that's because how tired I am from just talking and picking up and dropping books. Whew, I'm just gonna bring you a little bit closer. So yeah, that was all from me today. And as you can see, I am reading, and I'm back on the book world. I'm back to signed copies and Polaroids with authors that are also signed, and getting to books that I've been on the TBR since forever. And refuse just talking about books and hearing what other people think about books. And I promise I really am back on track, and I really am gonna come back. So if you still want to hear from me after all these years, stay tuned. Oh god, Laini Taylor. Um, I'm not holding this right. I mean, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Laini Taylor. Oops. Everything is formatted as files. And I've been wanting to read it